Hello everyone and welcome to today's CAS Inspire webinar called Top Tips for Making Your Computing Lessons Greener. My name is Suzanne Cray and I'm the host for this session. I'm also joined by my colleague Alison Sheldon, who will be moderating today's session and bringing your questions to today's panel, if time allows, at the end. During the session, please use the question window on the right-hand side of your screen to ask questions. All attendees are in listen-only mode, and if you're using social media today, the hashtag for this event is #CAS Inspire. So without further ado, I'll introduce the panel. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to be joined by John Chippendale and Ben Davis. John is Barefoot Content Director at BCS. He was one of the original Barefoot authors, a project which has now reached over 85,000 teachers and 3 million pupils. John is also a teacher at Crumsall Lane Primary School, where he teaches and leads computing across the school. Ben is an upper Key Stage 2 teacher with over 20 years of classroom experience. He's a specialist leader of education, a STEM associate facilitator, CAS community leader, Barefoot ambassador, resources developer, and computing subject leader. Wow. He is passionate about promoting learning strategies that allow children to deepen and apply their knowledge of computing. So welcome to both of you. And I'm going to hand over to John, first of all, to get us started today. Thank you.
Super. Thanks. I'm not sure why it suddenly stopped presenting there. Hopefully now you should be able to see my presentation again. Let me know if you can't. And yeah, super. Thanks for the introduction. Really pleased to be here this afternoon talking about top tips for making your computing lessons greener, and to be here with Ben as well. We're going to do a bit of a double act this afternoon. I'm going to start off, and I'm going to start by talking about a new set of resources that are out now from Barefoot called Climate Champions. So really excited to be able to talk about these this afternoon, what they are, what the skills that they're developing in pupils and how they relate to educating pupils on the climate crisis. And then Ben is going to follow and talk about how he's used his resources in his school and the changes and improvements he's made to them, the way he's adapted them, and share some top tips in how you can use them in your classroom as well. So that's the plan from the two of us. And then, as you said, Suzanne, if we've got any questions that come through, very happy to answer those at the end as well. So just really quickly, for anyone that might possibly not be aware of what Barefoot is, Barefoot is a project within BCS that provides exemplary lesson plans, and it combines that with teacher professional development through supporting with resources, interactive workshops, specialist partnerships, and live lessons as well. And everything from Barefoot is free. It was initially established by the DFE when we in England transitioned from ICT to computing, and it's since been mapped to the devolved nations curriculum, Education Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. And as you said in the intro, they're really proud to say that to date we've reached over 85,000 teachers through our resources and workshops, and over 3 million pupils. So that's a really quick introduction to what Barefoot is. But what are the Climate Champions resources? Well, they are the latest set of resources that we've put out, and the aim of them is to develop pupils' creative digital skills in the context of tackling the climate crisis. So obviously we've just had COP26 happen up in Glasgow, and I was very proud to go up there with Barefoot pupils questions, and Ben's going to talk more about that and mention it in his, because it's his pupils putting questions to policymakers up at COP, and to share some of pupils' planet pledges that they've made as part of these resources, because that's what they do in these resources. Different year groups create their planet pledges using different digital media. So years 5 to 7, we use an open source piece of software called Paints, which I'm going to show you shortly and give you a couple of minutes to have a go at making your own Planet Pledge. In years 7 to 9, they make stop motion animations, and for ages 9 to 11, they create video in Canva, and I'll share one of those with you as well. So as I mentioned on the last slide, Barefoot is all about CPD. So even our lesson plan resources, we provide lots of CPD kind of nuggets in there to support you and teachers in your schools to deliver these lessons. So we provide video talkthroughs, and I think Ben's going to mention that he found those useful with his staff in his school. We also do something called the Barefoot live session. So there's a picture you should be able to see there on the screen of myself and one of the other authors of these resources, Neil Rickus, being beamed into classrooms across the country to provide demos on using the kit, apps, etc., that we have recommended. So lots of supporting materials to help you deliver these lessons if you would like to deliver them in your schools, which I hope you will, including some resources to run your own mini COP climate conferences in your schools. So we've included and we envisage these as being sort of an extended assembly type thing, where pupils can share from all the different year groups their Planet Pledges as their posters or their stop motion animations or their videos. So these are the resources which I'm sort of championing, the Climate Champions resources at the moment, which you can use with your pupils. And let me just share with you an example of one of the outputs. So I'm just going to close that down, and I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to open this to play.
Did you know the world is changing? The planet is getting warmer. For 11,000 years, the average temperature was stable at 14 degrees Celsius. But since the Industrial Revolution, as we started burning fossil fuels and choking our beautiful planet, the temperature has started to rise.
So far, it's risen 1 degree. It might not sound like a lot, but it's causing.
It's also affecting species like the majestic snow leopard, whose habitat is shrinking.
So what's causing climate change, and how can we stop it?
Burn fossil fuels for energy for light or for fuel for our cars are releasing carbon dioxide into the air.
The carbon dioxide acts like a blanket and covers the earth. This warms the earth. We're also cutting down our trees, which helps remove carbon dioxide.
Think about how you can reduce your energy consumptions.
Turn off the lights in your home when they're not needed, and do not use standby mode on TVs.
Try and walk more and use the car less, or use public transport. Use less plastic, as plastic uses lots of fossil fuels to make. We've made our Planet Pledge.
We're going to walk to school 2 days a week, even if it's raining.
What's your Planet Pledge?
There you go. So hopefully that came through okay to give you an idea of the type of outcome from these resources. That was pupils, year 5 pupils creating their Planet Pledge in Canva. Now, we're really pleased to have seen lots of schools already taking part in this and sharing their work with us. Please do, if you do take part, hashtag Climate Champions is what we're using to gather all that those photographs and pieces of work that are coming through on our social channels. And a few of the pictures in these posts here are of younger pupils doing our Key Stage 1 resource within the Climate Champions pack, which is called the Recycling Warriors. And that uses this app here, which is called Paint. Now, just conscious that we don't, it's a shorter session this evening, so maybe scan this and have a go afterwards, perhaps, because I wouldn't want you to be doodling on Paint whilst Ben is talking, because he's going to share lots of valuable stuff himself. But please do have a play with this and maybe share your Planet Pledge. You can see I've created my own there about cycling to work. That's my plan. But the QR code will take you to this Paint editor. It's a really good tool also to be aware of, Paint, because it will run in any browser. So whatever tech you've got, one of the challenges for Barefoot is always ensuring we put out resources that are accessible by as many schools as possible. So Paint is a great tool that we will be using again to do digital painting, image manipulation. So have a go, have a scan of that, and then if you do get a chance to create your own little Planet Pledge in the form of a little poster, you can screenshot it on your phone or whatever, and then tweet it to us at the hashtag Climate Champions or at barefoot at barefoot.com. One of the things I mentioned at the start is that we also very pleased to have taken some pupil voice to COP, questions that pupils have generated out of the research they did when they were learning about the climate crisis to build their, create their Planet Pledge videos or posters or animations. These are some fantastic questions which came from pupils based in Manchester. But at this point, I'm going to stop talking because actually these are Ben's pupils. So I'm going to hand over to Ben and get him to pick up and talk about how he used and adapted these resources in his school with his staff. So I'm going to try and do this reasonably seamlessly. Over to you, Ben. You should now have the power. You have, and I will go off of video.
Right. And does that mean, John, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, all perfect.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, as John was saying, I've been in the fortunate position to be involved with this project, and certainly got a lot more out of it than I ever expected. The biog at the beginning had lots of things in it, but I think the most important thing is that I'm a teacher, and what I'm sharing with you are just sort of things that I've done in the last 3 weeks using the Barefoot resources, the Climate Champion resources. And I'll talk about it from a class teacher point of view and from a subject leader point of view, if that's okay. And being a primary school teacher, I'll go for the W word. So we'll do a bit of why, how, and what around these resources. So why did we get involved? Well, as a school, we were looking at how we could piggyback what was happening with COP26, and plenty of things that were available. But from my point of view, it was all rather just a bit of lip service, something that you left on an afternoon if you had cover, or a PowerPoint that was suitable for an assembly. Then John did a session, CAS Community Leaders Coffee Catch-Up thing, and showed the video that he just showed us, which blew me away. Just what the children had produced. So yeah, so got ourselves involved with it. Barefoot resources, those of you that know them, which hopefully that's all of you that are listening, just know the fact that they had Barefoot on them gives me the confidence that I'm looking at resources that are going to be developing children's understanding and giving them opportunities to apply this understanding. It's not about just what they produce at the end, it's about how they get there. And another added thing for us as a school, we are working towards our Rights, Respect in School Gold Award. We're at silver status at the moment. And on the screen there, you can see, which is slightly covered by some boxes. I'm going to minimize it so I can read. No, I can't. I'm skipping through slides. There we go. So one of the things we have to do for gold is facilitate more opportunities for children to initiate powerful advocacy and campaigning work on local and global issues. Don't think that it possibly can get more of a global issue than the climate crisis at the moment. And when I saw the resources and I saw that you could use them from years 1 through to year 6, when we could have children giving their ideas, making their planet pledges, and actually that they could be taken outside of the school, and they were in a format ready to do that, so really hit our boat and got other people in the school enthused as well. Other people you could possibly hear in the background at the moment. Right. How did we get involved? Well, simply we downloaded the resources, but a bit more than that. We got everybody involved from years 1 to year 6. EYFS are using the autumn resources from Barefoot at the moment as well. We, shock horror, we changed our long-term plan for computing. So what we were supposed to be doing this half term, everybody is now using these resources. We modified the outcomes of them slightly because we're in a position where year 1 and year 2 are both doing the paints. Years 3 and year 4 are both doing stop motion animation. So we just changed the outcome so it looked like, should anybody come in, and we're in that time period ourselves, that we couldn't say, well, where's the progression? What's somebody different? Why is somebody in year 3 doing something different as it, doing the same as somebody in year 4? And it was just words like purposefully, just thinking with the paints of the year 1 and year 2, they were purposefully selecting the tools that they were going to use to communicate their message. We also extended the lessons to cover this half term, which partly because we've got a reduced timetable now, we haven't got as much time for computing with the recovery curriculum, but we wanted something that would last teachers for the half term. And the way that we did it, or the way that I did it, was with a focus on the tinkering aspects of the lesson, and then putting some things at the end where children go revisit the design brief and they evaluate what they have produced based on the brief they were given in the first place. And what have we got out of it? Well, so far, certainly we have motivated and enthusiastic learners, pupils who are proud of what they're producing already, pupils with an attitude to going back and fixing things and repairing things that I wish I could get them to do in their writing in English, but all you have to do is suggest something to them and they're back on it. We've also got some teachers who've rediscovered digital literacy. There's been a lot with computer science going on, and that seems to be what people now think computing is. So some teachers really happy to go back and do these things. And the skills that the pupils are developing, there are already people thinking about how they can make use of these tools outside of the computing lesson. So, going forward, how might paints be used to support learning in geography or in history? Improved pupil outcomes. Well, I think that's put down, and John mentioned this. Those videos that provided, when I saw them, and sort of the walkthrough videos, I thought, well, these are really good CPD. Give them to teachers, and people can use them, upskill themselves. And what's happened in a few classes is they've actually used those as a teaching resource. Now, at first I thought, oh, no, that's not what they're there for. But actually, on reflection, I'm thinking that has helped that teacher provide a better learning environment for those children. Somebody who wasn't confident and possibly wouldn't or would have shied away from doing that lesson has now given the children the lesson that they deserve. So based on that, based them on the atmosphere that's been created, those pupils have been able to achieve to the best of their abilities. And tangible evidence, well, in terms of our goal, our sort of application for the Gold Award, we've got, with the questions that John took up to COP26, we have got real excellent evidence that our children are campaigning, getting involved with things that are global issues, and they're taking them outside of the school. So that's from the sort of the whole school level about it. If I just sort of briefly then spend a few minutes talking about how I got it going in my classroom. So upper key stage 2 teachers, so mixed class of years 5 and year 6. But start off with, so we were using Canva, we were creating the video, one similar to the one that John showed. We started off with the Tinkerine Lesson, which is part of the Barefoot resources. Canva itself is really intuitive. The children picked it up it really was a great lesson for tinkering, with lots of sharing of ideas. We use Google Classroom as a platform. Once they were signed into that, and then went to Canva, used single sign-in, so they got straight into it, and they were then sort of posting tips to each other through the Google Classroom platform on how they, so the list of skills to find out that comes with the Barefoot resources, how we got through those and did those. We then moved on to looking at a set of questions. Again, these are copied from the Barefoot resources, but that was our second lesson, where we just created answers for those questions. The idea, the answers then being the backbone of the presentation. And moving on, we spent a lesson where we have created storyboards. So it's a storyboard here with different slides, with the children focusing on what's going to be seen on screen, what words are going to be used, but also a script, because I wanted to get them away from the idea of just reading the text that they put on the screen. So here it's what each child was going to say on each slide, and to create the differentiation between these are titles, this is an overview of the slide, but these are the words that the people listening to the slide will hear. This is the narration. And we're now up to this phase. So we're at the creating, right, where the children are starting to, are making their videos. We have got ourselves a Canva Classroom account, which all you need to do once you register for Canva with a school email address is get a letter on letter-headed paper that says that you work at the school, and upload it as a JPEG and send it, and you get a Canva Classroom account, which means you can have all the pupils in a classroom and you can access their work, which is great for giving feedback. So you can see that, just screenshot it to remind me to tell you this, but well, on this slide there was lots of children saying with toxic gas, and then underneath it said, on this slide we will tell you all about toxic gas. So I was pointing out the lack, they don't need that. Okay. So far this is a work in progress. So this is where we're up to. So I'll just show you one.
Climate change is the change in the climate, causing rainfall, droughts, and melting ice caps, causing floods. The things that cause climate change is pollution, cutting down trees, diesel, oil, cars, and humans are doing pollution by making greenhouse gases that weakens the atmosphere, making the earth warmer. Species all around the world are becoming extinct due to climate change. This includes animal habitats being destroyed. Lots of disasters decrease the human population, such as floods, destroyed homes, wildfires, and droughts. Lots of humans cut down trees, which is bad for the environment. Producing energy means less greenhouse gases are let out into the atmosphere, making the Earth 1.5 degrees hotter every year, which will help stop climate change. Turning off the lights and TV when not in use, and walking or cycling to school instead of using petrol and diesel cars will help reduce emissions. Cycling, walking or cycling more than driving your car and trying to use energy less could help tackle climate change.
Right, so in terms of what we'll be doing next, so certainly with my class, it's feedback and editing for them, and with that one, few grammar things to pick up, but mainly just to slow down on the amount of animation. They've done that thing that everybody gets a bit excited when they first do. Again, I mentioned earlier, with each year group, we'll be evaluating the extra lesson at the end, where they will evaluate what they've done and linking it back to their design brief. We're going to go down the line of a showcase where we have in school what we call pupil voice groups, where groups of 20 children meet once a week from all over the school, and we're going to use that as a forum for doing our climate conference. So children are going to take resources along and share them with pupils from other groups there and talk about their planet pledges. The sustainable aspect of it, I want to revisit and review what they've done. So go back to these planet pledges. We've got the evidence there, play them the videos again. Are you still doing the things that you said that you were going to do? I'm hoping, really hopeful, that now this will mean that these skills get applied to other areas of the curriculum. So I know that I'll be using Canvas. First time I've used it, but I'll certainly be using it in other areas of the curriculum. And finally is just to collect all these resources that we will develop through using the Barefoot project, and the ones from being involved with John and his trip up to COP, and the questions that people asked and the responses from the delegates there, to hopefully get our gold award as a right respect in school. But yes, so that's it from me. I wholeheartedly recommend these resources. It's been an absolute pleasure being in the classroom with the children whilst they're getting on with them. It's one of those lessons that you feel that you really facilitate in learning rather than teaching them, because they're so engaged. You don't want to step in, you don't want to break their concentration or their train of thought, or what they're doing, but it is lovely to see the way that they're supporting each other as well. Okay, so
thank you.
So over to questions, I think, if it works that way.
Yeah. Thank you, Ben. It was really useful to see it actually in action, isn't it? And you know, to see how those resources are being used. Alison, have we got any questions?
I can't see any, Suzanne. No.
Okay, none at all. Okay, right. Well, if you do have any questions, there will be opportunities to post them on Twitter or on our website, and we'll do our best to reply to those. So really, it just leaves me to say thank you so much to Ben and John for sharing those resources and those ideas with us today. Absolutely fantastic, and I hope that's been useful to you guys as an audience too. Thank you to the audience also for joining us today, and thanks for Alison for helping me out today and keeping an eye on that question window. If there's any highlights from today's session you'd like to share, please do that via social media using the hashtag CAS Inspire. And if you'd like to know any more about green IT, there's a great article on the latest edition of Hello World magazine. I've actually got it here. There we go. Written by Beverly Clark. There we go. And there's a BCS article as well about how to talk to children about climate change. And Alison, I think you're going to put that link in the chat for me, aren't you?
Yeah, I will do.
I'll do that. So lots of resources out there. Very topical, isn't it, at the moment? At the end of this webinar, a short survey will appear on the screen, and we'd be grateful if you could just take a minute to complete that survey. Please continue to spread the word about CAS Inspire. We're hosting further CAS Inspire sessions all the way through into 2022. Next Wednesday at 4 o'clock for the next primary CAS Inspire session, we'll be discussing how to be Ofsted ready. Always popular, that one. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Bye for now.